listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again today. We have another show lined up for y'all. We have our special guest, Kirk. She's joining us today. She is a career coach, and she specializes in guiding individuals on a spiritual path. She has also written a book, You're Here for a Reason. Today's topic, we're going to focus on You're Here for a Reason, connecting with the purpose. We're going to learn a little bit more about Rebecca today. So first and foremost, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, thanks. How you doing?
Doing awesome. So kind of tell us a little bit about your background. I know you have a 14-year corporate career. You also done some amazing work currently, and like I mentioned, the book that you've done. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, I started my career over in Florida, in Palm Beach, working for the Breakers, working in the retail department on a graduate scheme. So that was my first job, and stayed in the corporate retail space for, like you say, around 14 years, working for some of the sort of high street, well-known brands over in the UK, such as Sainsbury's, Boots. And had a great time, met some fantastic people. I got to travel. But over time, I felt disconnected from the work I was doing, and really got a sense that there was something else out there that I should be doing. And that led me to taking a career break in 2010 to Australia, which is what completely transformed my life and set the wheels in motion really for the career that I'm now involved in, which is as a coach. So I retrained as a life coach in 2016. And then in 2021, the call to work with people on a deeper spiritual level was just too loud to ignore. And so I refocused my work back then to really help people who were on a spiritual path or were spiritually curious in some way, to really support them in finding fulfillment from their life, from their work, and helping them connect with purpose, which is what I do today, primarily working one-to-one with clients around the world, and now having launched my first book, You're Here for a Reason.
And with that transition from your career to another chapter in your life, being your own boss, how easy was it for you to make that transition? And also, what was it like building your own brand?
Yeah, well, I would say when I first took my career break, I had a period of wondering what on earth I'd done, to be honest. When I first left the corporate world, it took a little while to sort of disconnect from my old identity in the corporate world and then reconnect with, I say a new identity, but what it is really, I think, is my true identity that had been quite obscured for a while. So that was a little tricky, but we're only talking about a matter of sort of weeks or months, really. And then it felt a very natural transition in a way to begin working for myself. So I didn't mention earlier, I worked as a retail and brand consultant for a number of years before I became a coach. And that really, it helped me transition using the retail and the brand skills and experience I had from the corporate world. I used that alongside some new skills around, managing a business. So the marketing, the sort of financial side, building a website. And I think it really tapped into a lot of things that I enjoy. I enjoy the structure and the challenge. It wasn't completely plain sailing, but I think for me, it was a very natural transition, and it really helped me learn new skills, to grow, to develop. So yeah, it was a mixture of both, but for me, it was a very natural transition.
And speaking of that, that's what you do for your clients. You help them with the coaching needs that they have. Tell us a little bit about your focus of your coaching and the hundreds of clients that you've been able to work with around the world?
Yeah, so I mean, it really emerged for me post-lockdown. I think after the pandemic, I think a lot of people started to question why they're here. They started to search for deeper meaning, more fulfillment in their lives. And I started to notice this pattern in terms of what clients were presenting with in sessions. So it felt, again, a very natural thing for me to call on my experiences of making 3 fairly big career changes in helping them through their journey, literally from end to end. And that's what the book focuses on. It really shares my whole process, my whole coaching process that I've developed over the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years, to initially help get people into the right headspace, into the right energetic space to begin what I call a career alignment journey. So this is taking them from a place of deep disconnection to alignment to who they truly are, to what they're feeling called to do, and the impact they're really here to make in the world. So I take them through that journey from that start point to coming out with a plan, with a structure, with a focus for where they might go next. And, you know, some people on that journey, they will have potentially a light bulb moment or, real clarity on what that is. For some people, it's just opening up to the possibility of having more fulfillment in their life, in their career. So it's very much taking them on that journey and calling on my experience, both as a coach, but also I think been very valuable to call on my own personal experience as well, and my spiritual, I'd say beliefs, because it's not religion as such, but calling on certain spiritual principles that have really helped me, through some challenging times, and really been a catalyst for that deeper sort of change that I think a lot of people are looking for.
And going back to your book, it's the same title as the episode for the show. You're here for a reason. Tell us your experience with publishing and getting that work out. What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, well, I always felt like I had a book in me that needed to come out, and I wasn't actually planning on having it out at this point. But I remember very, very clearly about 1.5 years ago, one Sunday night, I was going to bed and I said to my partner, I have to start writing my book tomorrow. It was a very, very clear message, a very clear calling to get on with this and to start this. And, you know, that really carried me through the whole 18 months that it took me to write this book. In many ways, I've been writing it my whole life. There's a lot of my personal experiences in there. There's a lot of my client stories. So they very much provided the research basis for this book. So I use a lot of their case studies and experiences and the process that I'd already been using, just bringing it into book form. So that aspect of it really, really kind of flowed. And I felt like I sort of tapped into a sort of creative energy stream that really carried me through. So the publishing side of things, again, I went the self-publishing route with this, which was a decision that took a while to come to, but I felt like it needed to come out in the way that I intended and not be changed, at least this first time around. So once I'd made the decision to self-publish, I was quite fortunate in that I was able to call on a lot of the skills that I'd learned from being in the retail space. So developing products, so working with timeframes, working with suppliers and print. I was a greeting card buyer for one of the supermarket chains over here for a number of years. So it really was quite fascinating how it gave me the opportunity to combine all of these different things. So it was an enjoyable experience. It wasn't, again, without challenge, but it was something I felt very called to do.
When you look back through your whole process of be able to use those experiences to be included in your book. When it comes to finding your own clarity and your own confidence and realignment, I mean, that's one way to say it, but it's another way to actually do it. What was the process like for you in addressing your life to realign to what you call finding, your purpose?
So I did have a light bulb moment of clarity back in 2015. I was on a beach in Norfolk on the east coast of England, and I was communicating with the universe. I find the ocean, the water, a very powerful form of connection, and I was asking a very direct question as to what I needed to be doing. Show me the next steps. And life coaching, training as a life coach, was a very clear message that I felt I received. And so again, it all kind of clicked into place at that point. I did have, many years of kind of wondering what that thing was. So it's not all been sort of seamless, but I got that very strong calling. And I think for me, staying connected to the source, through meditation, through prayer, that kind of thing, I have a daily reminder as to what this is about and why I'm here, and reflecting on the different aspects, even of my time in the corporate world. The aspect which I did really enjoy and I did feel like was a good fit for me was having a team and nurturing them and helping them grow and develop. And so things just started to kind of click into place. But from doing some deep work, some soul searching, and having that time and headspace on a career break, really started to get the wheels in motion for that. So there's been a practical aspect to this process, but there's also a very intangible aspect which comes from that connection.
When it comes to moments when people look at themselves, right, and they can be their biggest enemy when it comes to not making progress, pushing themselves to go to the next level, wherever that level is. What's some underlying factors or fears that can contribute to people holding themselves back?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think for me, again, taking a spiritual approach, one of the sort of ways that I would frame all of that is to recognize that as the ego self, and to also recognize that that's not who we truly are. So the ego self is that part that, the fear-based actions that we take largely stem from our ego. And I think playing down our gifts and talents is a very common thing. It's, the vast majority of clients that come to me looking for greater purpose and fulfillment, they do struggle with that. For me, the alternative is to recognize the higher self. So that's the part of us which is, that's the true essence of who we are. And through that, we can connect with a deeper source of courage, of confidence, and to recognize, for example, with gifts and talents that, as the word implies, it's something that we've been given. And I believe from a higher force, be that God, the universe, source. And I think when you can frame things in that way and recognize the ego self for what it is, I think we can then step into this more courageous space that can help us take that next step. But the ego self can and will try. It believes it's keeping us safe, but it's just holding us back from what we're here to, I believe, bring to the world and to reach that true potential. So that's the way that I tend to frame any beliefs or limitations that we put on ourselves. There is also the level of the mind that I tend to look at, and it's in the book as well. And that is from a perspective of beliefs, our belief system. So what do we believe to be true about our abilities? So it could be a limiting belief that, I'm not worthy of a happy and successful career. It could be, I believe that, people will think I'm ridiculous if I, want to go and retrain as a gardener. So working through calling those beliefs out and then having a way to reprocess them, reframe them into something which is much more empowering, an affirmation that people can work with. So they're the two ways that I would look to sort of work through that with clients, or indeed in the book.
We're talking to our guest today, Rebecca Kirk. You can go to her website, rebeccakirk.co.uk. And you remind me of a time when someone told me once before that just because you have a thought doesn't mean you have to keep it. And I feel like sometimes we will keep those negative thoughts in our head and we'll just cycle them throughout the day. And before you know it, you just lost the day when you could have redeemed the time and, turn the page. We like to reread, certain chapters in our life versus start writing new chapters. For you and the clients you have worked with, diverse clients, what's the common thread that you see that allows that light bulb to not just cut on, but to stay on?
Well, I think, recognizing any of those thoughts as you just described them, recognizing or becoming aware of those and becoming aware of where they come from and what they believe they're designed to do. So to keep us safe. But this for me again is where I think when we feel connected to that higher force, it can really move you into action. So yeah, it's one thing having the idea. I think moving that into action and understanding what the underlying motivation is, I think can be very powerful in that sense. So, what is the essence of why you're wanting to kind of make this career change, let's say? And quite often it comes back to wanting to make an impact in the world, wanting to help people in some way. And I think recognizing that, this is not just about you. It's something that I've had to remind myself of a lot. And, I probably wouldn't even be on your show today without working through that resistance that, if I hold myself back, I'm not able to bring what I feel I need to bring to the world. So I think that can be very powerful at sort of taking that next step. But, there's practical ways as well, such as kind of just breaking it down into sort of simple actions that create forward movement. You don't have to do it all overnight. I think it's important to just focus on those little baby steps that stop that inertia that can keep you in a bit of a loop, a bit of a cycle. The other thing which I haven't mentioned, which for me is it runs again through all of my work, certainly through the book, is connection to our intuition. So that inner knowing, that inner voice, that gut feeling as to what feels right, what's the right next step, who's the right person to speak to, following those little threads of things that light us up, and trusting that could take us to where we ultimately want to get to.
Yeah, I like that point, finding those little threads, because to your point earlier about not trying to do it overnight, but having that forward action, like steady, slow and steady, quality steps are better than bad multiple steps. So when it comes to the mindset you had when you was working in retail versus the mind you have now, being your own boss, but having all this responsibility and having a bigger platform, how do you keep steering that ship in the right direction as you're going through life, still navigating?
Yeah, I think for me, again, it comes back to feeling what those right steps are, and a lot of trust as well. One example of this is, I've just released my book, and, the natural instinct is to have sales forecasts and plans in place. And I realized that is not who I am anymore. Yes, it's important to me. I want to get that out there, but I'm instead, I'm trusting, I'm letting go of expectations, which I think, can weigh very heavy. And I think I believe everything has an energy behind it and a vibration. And some of these very automatic kind of behaviors that are encouraged in a space like the corporate space, I think you really have to start to become aware of how that's impacting you and whether that is a fit for you anymore. And it's taken me a number of years. I'm still coming to realizations about that and still having to consciously go, actually, I don't have to map this out perfectly for the next 12 months. I don't have to have all those things in place that I did when I was, developing a product, let's say, that needed to launch in time for Christmas. And I get why, I had to do that in that space. But now it's about a lot of trust in myself, trust in the guiding force that is helping me, and just being very conscious about the next step instead of the 10 steps beyond that. But I think it's important to reflect on, when you've made some of these changes, to reflect on how, what's changed as a result of that. So reflection is good as well, but it's a continual kind of learning curve, really. But there is a very tangible difference between working for yourself and being in the corporate space.
We're talking to our guest, Rebecca Kirk, and you are here for a reason. You're here for a reason. Go to her website. It's real simple. It's rebeccakirk.co.uk. You can also find her book there as well. It's rebeccakirk.co.uk/purpose-book, and you can get that right there on her website. When you look at all the people being able to meet on the journey of being an entrepreneur, being your own business boss, what has been your reaction seeing that the leap of faith you took to start your brand, it actually clicked, it actually connected, and you were able to serve people? A lot of people are still stuck and cannot get a client, and you've been able to coach hundreds. So for the audience, what's your secret sauce?
Well, it's both practical and spiritual, which, I think has been a repeating theme in this conversation. But so on a practical level, getting found on the internet is, for me, absolutely number one. And I think is often overlooked in many sort of startup conversations. I think there's a lot of emphasis put on social media, on sales funnels. And for me, it's not come from those directions. It's been about, creating hopefully an inviting website that resonates with my ideal client. It won't resonate with everybody, but hopefully it resonates with the people that I'm meant to connect with, but that they can actually find that website in the first place. So working on search engine optimization has been absolutely instrumental. And alongside that, it's been about having faith, really, faith that, the universe will provide, if I'm doing work which hopefully is making a positive impact in the world, and I'm trusting in myself, that the prosperity, the abundance will flow. And, there are times when you need to call on that faith a lot more than others. It's not a sort of linear sort of sales path across a year. Most entrepreneurs would say the same thing, that some months are very plentiful and other months are, it's quite barren. But I think having the faith that things will level out, or that, if you feel called to pursue something, again, that intuition, that you listen to that, you listen to the people that you feel inclined to speak to, even if it doesn't kind of make sense, just to follow that thread, because I believe we're guided into things and we are guided away from things. So listening to that voice as much as our sort of logical mind, which is important too, but I think really being led by that guiding voice, it has been, for me, has been very powerful.
And like the title of the book, you're here for a reason. The word here needs to be circled and underlined. It doesn't say you're there. Because I feel like we always, not always, but sometimes we are so worried about the future or the past that the present is skipped. And that's the production line. You know, imagine you're on the production line producing what you're producing. If you stop, well, then your future becomes your now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you pick up on that word, because for me, presence it's one of the, I think it's one of the most profound practices, if you like, there is. And I think it's just, if we had that daily reminder to be present, we could tap into such a source of calm, of creativity, connection. So yeah, being here and enjoying the journey, and obviously when we're talking about making a career change, as I do in this book, it necessitates talking about the future. But for me, it's also important that we enjoy the journey. We enjoy the steps that we're taking, which are always in the present moment. So the journey towards that, there is a higher vibration. It's not just a means to an end, which I think can affect the overall outcome and the quality and impact the people around you. So yeah, I love that you picked up on that word. It's I hadn't thought of it in that light, but absolutely, the practice of presence it's so powerful.
Because the connection to your purpose is now. It's not later. The abundance of life is in the moment of life. It's not later, because later may not ever come. That's why right now is the most powerful thing in the universe. Because you have the free will to say, I'm going to have a great day. Or you have the free will to say, I'm going to have a horrible day. And the funny thing about it is that you get to think on that thought for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, it relates to one of the key messages in the book, which is that, we don't just derive purpose from our career. We can derive purpose from, understanding who we are as divine beings, which we can experience in the moment, and also from everyday life moments. It doesn't have to all be about the career and some future point. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying there. It's in the here and now, and it's accessible to all of us. I truly believe that.
Once again, talking to our guest today, Rebecca Kirk. You can get her book, You're Here for a Reason. Go to her website. It's rebeccakirk.co.uk. Once again, how can people stay in touch with you, and if they can find out they're a good fit for your services?
Yeah, so if they go onto my website, as you've just described, there's loads of information there about the book, about my one-to-one coaching programs, and there's also a couple of free resources. So I have a career change quiz just to help people see if they're sort of ready for making some kind of change, and see if they're ready for coaching even. So there's lots of resources on there, and the blog as well. And I'm on all the social channels, so Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So all the links to those things are on my website.
Once again, I want to say thanks to our guest today, Rebecca Kirk, for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.